The rain fell in a steady rhythm, washing the neon glow of Neo-Tokyo into shimmering reflections on the slick streets. Zara, a young alien from the distant planet Astrilis, pulled the hood of her borrowed jacket tighter over her head. The bustling city surrounded her like an organism, its people scurrying in endless waves, their faces aglow with the light of digital advertisements flashing on towering screens. She had studied Earth's culture from afar, but experiencing it firsthand was a far more chaotic and overwhelming ordeal. Her people, the Australians, were explorers and scholars, constantly seeking knowledge from other worlds. Zara had volunteered for the mission to Earth, eager to learn about humanity's ingenuity and resilience. Yet, her arrival had been far from seamless. She hadn't accounted for the limitations of Earth's currency system or the subtle complexities of its social rules. For 2 days, she had wandered the city, her resources dwindling, unable to communicate her needs without drawing suspicion. Hunger gnawed at her, an unfamiliar ache that grew with each passing hour. On Astrilis, food was synthesized and abundant, available to anyone without the need for payment. Here, the tantalizing aroma of sizzling meats and baking bread mocked her from every corner but remained out of reach. Zara had no Earth money, and her pride forbade her from begging. As dusk settled, she found herself in a dimly lit alley behind a row of restaurants. The faint hum of distant conversations and clinking dishes drifted to her ears. She sniffed the air, detecting a hint of something edible amidst the sour stench of trash. Tentatively, she approached a bin overflowing with discarded containers and crumpled paper. Among the refuse, she spotted a sandwich, only partially eaten and wrapped in plastic. It seemed clean enough. Her stomach clenched. Zara hesitated, glancing around the alley. She was alone, or so she thought. The soft pitter-patter of rain masked the sound of a door creaking open behind her. Just as she picked up the sandwich and brought it to her lips, a voice startled her. "Hey, wait!" Zara froze, the sandwich halfway to her mouth. She turned slowly, her glowing eyes meeting those of a human man standing a few feet away. He was young, with tousled dark hair and a chef's jacket that bore faint stains from a long day's work. His face held no malice, only curiosity and concern. "You don't have to eat that," he said, his tone gentle but firm. "Come on, I'll get you something better." Zara's instincts screamed at her to flee, but something in the man's demeanor stopped her. His eyes were kind, and his posture non-threatening. He extended a hand, motioning toward a nearby door with a warm light spilling out. "Really," he said, his voice softening. "I work here. It's okay." For a moment, Zara considered her options. She could refuse, skitter back into the shadows, and continue her scavenger hunt. But the gnawing hunger and the genuine kindness in his voice convinced her otherwise. Slowly, cautiously, she nodded. The man smiled, stepping aside to let her pass. As she walked through the door, the warm aroma of spices and sizzling oil enveloped her, and for the first time since arriving on Earth, Zara felt something unfamiliar: hope. The interior of the restaurant was a stark contrast to the cold alley Zara had just left. Warm light bathed the space, casting a golden glow over polished wood tables and colorful chairs. The air buzzed with muted conversations and the occasional clatter of dishes. On one wall, an intricate mural depicted fantastical landscapes that Zara guessed were inspired by both Earth and alien worlds. The scent of spices and freshly cooked food was intoxicating, almost overwhelming her heightened senses. Zara hesitated near the door, unsure of what to do. The man who had invited her in gently touched her arm to guide her forward. His touch was light, unassuming, yet it conveyed a surprising sense of security. "Take a seat," he said, motioning to a corner table. "I'll be right back." She obeyed, sliding into the chair and pulling her hood tighter over her head. Though her holographic disguise made her appear human enough, she didn't want to risk drawing unnecessary attention. As she waited, her eyes wandered over the room, taking in every detail: the cheerful chatter of the diners, the clinking of glasses, the faint music playing in the background. It was vibrant, a life so different from the serene, calculated environment of her home planet. The man returned a few minutes later, carrying a steaming bowl and a glass of water. He placed them in front of her with a smile. The dish was simple but fragrant noodles in a rich broth with colorful vegetables and thin slices of meat. The aroma alone made her stomach growl audibly. "I'm Tom, by the way," he said, pulling up a chair across from her. "What's your name?" Zara hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. After a moment, she decided on a half-truth. "Zara." "Nice to meet you, Zara," Tom said warmly. "You don't look like you're from around here." Zara stiffened. Was her disguise flawed? Could he see through it? She quickly formulated a response. "I'm new to this city. Trying to find my way." Tom nodded, seemingly satisfied. "Neo Tokyo can be overwhelming. But you don't have to eat out of the trash. If you're hungry, you can just ask." She stared at him, her mind racing. Could humans really be this generous? Was this some sort of trick? On Astrilis, such altruism was rare. Resources were abundant, but kindness was rationed. Yet here he was, a stranger offering her food without expecting anything in return. "Why would you do this?" she asked cautiously, her voice barely audible. Tom blinked, as though the question surprised him. "Because you looked like you needed help. And no one should have to eat off the ground." Zara took a tentative bite of the noodles. The flavor exploded on her tongue, rich and complex, unlike anything she had ever tasted. Her eyes widened in astonishment, and Tom chuckled. "Good, right?" he said. "It's my own recipe. A little earth, a little alien influence." She tilted her head. "Alien?" Tom grinned, leaning back in his chair. "Yeah. I get a lot of off-world customers here. They've introduced me to all kinds of spices and ingredients. It's amazing what you can create when you mix different cultures." His words struck a chord in Zara. Wasn't that what she had come to Earth to explore? The intersection of cultures, the potential for collaboration? She took another bite, savoring the flavors, and for the first time since her arrival, felt a flicker of something she couldn't quite name: connection. "Thank you," she said after a long silence. "For this. For not judging me." Tom waved her gratitude away. "Everyone has rough days. You just have to find someone willing to lend a hand." As Zara finished her meal, the two of them continued to talk, their conversation moving from food to the city around them. Tom shared stories about his life as a chef, his dream of creating a place where humans and aliens could come together over a shared love of food. Zara listened intently, feeling a sense of ease she hadn't known she needed. Before long, the restaurant had emptied, and the staff began tidying up for the night. Tom glanced around, realizing how late it had become. "Do you have a place to stay?" he asked. Zara hesitated. She had been sleeping in hidden corners of the city, but admitting that felt dangerous. She shook her head. Tom stood and extended a hand. "Come back tomorrow, okay? I'll make you something else. And if you ever need help, you know where to find me." Zara stared at his outstretched hand, then took it tentatively. The warmth of his grip was reassuring. For the first time since landing on Earth, Zara felt a spark of hope not just for her survival, but for her mission. "Okay," she said, her voice steady. "I'll come back." As she stepped out into the cool night, Zara felt the city around her shift. It was no longer just a maze of confusion and hostility. It was a place where connections could be made, where bridges could be built. And it had all started with a simple invitation. The following day, Zara returned to the restaurant as promised. She waited near the entrance, watching the hustle and bustle of the kitchen through the window. The staff moved like a well-choreographed dance, blending efficiency and creativity. Despite the alien nature of her surroundings, Zara felt a strange sense of belonging. When Tom spotted her, his face lit up, and he waved her inside. "Right on time," he said with a grin, ushering her to the same corner table. "I've got something special for you today." Zara sat quietly, her hood still up, as Tom disappeared into the kitchen. The hum of conversation filled the air as diners, both human and alien, enjoyed their meals. Zara noted the variety of customers. Some were unmistakably extraterrestrial, their vibrant hues and unusual appendages blending seamlessly with the decor of the restaurant. Others were human, chatting animatedly over steaming plates. No one paid Zara much attention, which gave her a strange sense of peace. Moments later, Tom returned with a tray, setting it in front of her. The dish was unlike anything Zara had ever seen, delicate ribbons of pasta, drizzled with a shimmering sauce that seemed to glimmer faintly under the restaurant's lights. Scattered atop the dish were vibrant vegetables and what looked like thinly sliced protein of unknown origin. The smell was intoxicating, a blend of earthy, sweet, and savory that made her mouth water. "This," Tom said proudly, "is a fusion dish I've been working on. Human pasta, Australian starfruit glaze, and some spices I picked up from a client from Arion. Give it a try." Zara hesitated for a moment, then took a small bite. Her senses exploded with flavor. The pasta was smooth and rich, while the glaze added a tangy, almost electric sweetness. The spices danced on her tongue, leaving a subtle heat that lingered just long enough to make her want more. She blinked in astonishment, her disguise briefly flickering as her iridescent skin flashed in response to her emotions. Tom noticed but didn't react. Instead, he watched her expression with a mix of pride and curiosity. "Good?" "Good doesn't even begin to describe it," Zara said, her voice barely above a whisper. She quickly took another bite, savoring every texture and flavor. "This is incredible." Tom laughed, pulling up a chair across from her. "That's what I was hoping for. Food's a universal language, you know? Doesn't matter where you're from, it can bring people together." Zara paused mid-bite, her gaze locking on Tom. "You really believe that?" He shrugged. "Why not? I've seen it happen. We get folks from all over the galaxy in here, and once they sit down and share a meal, the differences don't seem so big. It's not perfect, but it's a start." She considered his words, the simplicity of his philosophy. Her mission on Earth had always been framed as a scientific endeavor gathering data, observing behavior, but Tom's perspective added a new dimension. Perhaps humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or resilience, but its ability to connect through small, meaningful gestures. "You're different," she said, her voice soft. "Most humans I've observed are wary of outsiders." Tom leaned back, his expression thoughtful. "Yeah, I get that. A lot of people are scared of what they don't understand. But I've always thought curiosity is a better way to go. Besides, the universe is too big to stay in one corner." Zara finished her meal, feeling an unfamiliar warmth not just from the food, but from the exchange itself. For the first time since her arrival, she felt seen, not as an alien, but as an individual. As the evening went on, Tom introduced her to other aspects of the restaurant. He took her into the kitchen, where he explained the different techniques he used to prepare dishes, blending flavors from across the galaxy. Zara was fascinated, her sharp mind absorbing every detail. She even offered a few suggestions, drawing on her knowledge of Australian ingredients. Tom was delighted by her insights, scribbling notes on a clipboard and brainstorming new recipes on the spot. By the end of the night, Zara had sampled more dishes than she could count, each one a testament to the possibilities of collaboration. When she finally prepared to leave, Tom stopped her near the door. "Hey," he said, handing her a small package. "It's leftovers. Just in case you get hungry later." Zara took the package, her fingers brushing against his for a moment. She felt a pang of gratitude so profound it almost overwhelmed her. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "For everything." Tom smiled, his easygoing nature shining through. "Come back any time." The kitchen's always open for you. As Zara stepped into the cool night air, the package tucked securely under her arm, she looked up at the towering buildings around her. The city felt different now, not just a maze of cold steel and alien customs, but a place where bridges could be built. For the first time, she felt a sense of possibility, a glimmer of hope that her mission might succeed. And it had all started with a simple meal. Weeks passed, and Zara became a regular at Tom's restaurant. Each visit deepened her understanding of Earth's culture and its people. She observed the ebb and flow of customers, each bringing their unique stories, struggles, and joys. Tom, ever the curious and welcoming host, introduced her to dishes that ranged from simple Earth staples to experimental fusions inspired by alien cuisines. In turn, Zara shared insights into her people's traditions, particularly their methods of combining food and technology. The restaurant became a haven for Zara, a rare constant in the whirlwind of her mission. Each night, she and Tom exchanged stories. She told him about Australis, its endless crystalline plains, and its philosophy of shared knowledge. He told her about his childhood dreams of being a chef and how cooking helped him understand the world better. Their conversations grew more personal, their bond stronger with every interaction. One evening, after the restaurant had closed and the staff had gone home, Zara found herself sitting on the rooftop with Tom. The city stretched out before them, a sea of lights flickering against the dark sky. Tom handed her a steaming cup of tea, its aroma unfamiliar yet comforting. "You've come a long way," he said, breaking the silence. Zara glanced at him, her disguise flickering slightly as her emotions surfaced. She no longer worried about hiding her true self around Tom. His acceptance of her had erased those fears. "I have," she said, her voice contemplative. "But it's not just about distance. I've learned more from you and this place than I expected." Tom smiled, leaning back against the railing. "You've taught me a lot too. I mean, it's not every day you get to talk with someone from another planet. It's humbling." Zara sipped her tea, her glowing eyes reflecting the city lights. "Humans are more complex than I imagined. You're capable of great cruelty, but also extraordinary kindness. Your ability to adapt, to create, to connect, it's remarkable." Tom chuckled. "We try. Sometimes we mess up. A lot, actually. But I think most of us just want to make things better, even if we don't always know how." Zara nodded, her thoughts drifting to her mission. She had come to Earth to study humanity, to assess its potential as a partner in intergalactic cooperation. At first, she had been skeptical. Earth's chaotic energy, its stark contrasts between wealth and poverty, kindness and hostility, had seemed like insurmountable flaws. But now, she saw those contrasts as part of what made humanity unique. "Tom," she said suddenly, turning to face him, "would you ever consider sharing your knowledge, your food, with my people?" Tom raised an eyebrow. "Your people? Like, on your planet?" She nodded. "I think they would benefit from understanding humans as much as I've benefited from understanding you. Food is a universal language, as you said. It could be a bridge." Tom was silent for a moment, processing the idea. Then he grinned. "Are you kidding? That sounds incredible. I'd love to. Although, I might need a little help with the space travel part." Zara laughed, a sound like chiming crystal. "I think I can arrange that." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden commotion below. Zara peered over the edge of the rooftop to see a group of people, humans and aliens, gathered outside the restaurant. Some were regulars, others unfamiliar, but all of them seemed to be talking excitedly. Tom frowned. "What's going on?" They hurried down to investigate. As they stepped outside, one of the regular customers, a human woman with vibrant red hair, waved them over. "Tom." "Zara," she called. "We've been talking, and we think you should do something big, something to bring people together." Zara tilted her head. "What do you mean?" The woman gestured to the crowd. Your food brings people here, but it's more than that. It makes us talk to each other, learn about each other. Why not host a festival? Something where humans and aliens can share food, stories, and art. Show the city and maybe the galaxy what's possible. Tom glanced at Zara, his expression thoughtful. What do you think? Zara smiled, her eyes glowing softly. I think it's the perfect way to start. Over the next few weeks, the restaurant became the epicenter of preparations for the festival. Zara worked alongside Tom and the community, blending human and alien traditions into a celebration unlike any other. The festival drew crowds from across the city, and even a few from beyond Earth. People shared food, music, and stories, breaking down barriers one conversation at a time. As the festival reached its peak, Zara stood beside Tom on a makeshift stage, addressing the crowd. This is what humanity and the galaxy can achieve when we come together. Connection. Understanding. Hope. The applause was thunderous, and Zara felt a surge of pride. She had found what she'd been searching for, not just knowledge, but a vision of unity. And it had all started with a human simple invitation. As the festival lights flickered in the night sky, blending with the stars, Zara and Tom stood side by side, their bond a testament to what was possible when two worlds collided and found common ground.